Listen up, because what I'm about to share with you could absolutely transform the way you approach your entire fitness journey, and honestly, understanding exactly where you stand right now, at this very moment in your calisthenics training path, is probably one of the most game-changing things you could ever do for yourself. And here's why: when you truly know your current position and capabilities, you were able to create realistic targets that you can actually smash, instead of setting yourself up for disappointment and frustration by aiming for goals that are way beyond your reach right now. And trust me, this awareness becomes your secret weapon for monitoring every single improvement, every tiny victory, and every breakthrough moment that happens along your incredible transformation journey. Because progress isn't always about massive leaps forward. Sometimes it's about recognizing those small wins that eventually add up to something absolutely extraordinary. And that's what makes this whole process so exciting and rewarding when you really think about it. Now let me break down something really fascinating for you, because calisthenics training naturally divides itself into 3 distinct stages that each person moves through at their own unique pace. And these aren't just random categories someone made up. These are legitimate phases that represent real differences in strength, coordination, body control, and overall athletic capability. And we're talking about the beginner stage, where everything is fresh and new; the intermediate stage, where things start getting seriously interesting; and the advanced stage, where you're basically performing movements that most people would consider absolutely impossible or even superhuman. And each one of these stages comes packed with its own unique obstacles that you'll need to overcome, its own exciting achievements that you'll celebrate, and its own specific milestones that mark your progression from one level to the next. And understanding these distinctions helps you appreciate exactly how far you've come, while also giving you crystal clear direction on where you're headed next. So if you're currently in that beginning phase where everything feels challenging and maybe even a little overwhelming, here's what you absolutely need to focus all your energy and attention on right now. Because this foundation stage is arguably the most critical period of your entire journey, and rushing through it or skipping steps would be one of the biggest mistakes you could possibly make. So take your time and really master these fundamental movements that form the backbone of everything else you'll ever do in calisthenics. And I'm talking about classic exercises like push-ups, where you're pressing your body away from the ground, building incredible chest, shoulder, and tricep strength; and pull-ups, where you're hauling your entire body weight upward, developing that powerful back and arm musculature; and squats that forge unbreakable leg strength and stability; and planks that create rock-solid core stability; and those leg raises that build abdominal power and hip flexor strength. And these aren't just random exercises, these are the building blocks that every single advanced movement is constructed upon. And while they might seem simple or even basic at first glance, executing them with perfect form and complete control is what separates people who plateau early from those who eventually reach elite levels of performance. So invest the time now to really nail down proper technique. Feel every muscle working, understand the movement patterns, and build that mind-muscle connection that'll serve you for years to come. Because when you establish these solid foundations early, everything else becomes so much more achievable later on, moving upward into that intermediate territory. Now this is where your training takes on a whole new dimension of excitement and challenge, because you're no longer just doing basic movements, you're tackling exercises that require significantly more power, better balance, way more coordination, and a level of body awareness that you simply didn't need at the beginner stage. And we're talking about mind-blowing moves like one-arm push-ups, where you're pressing your entire body weight with just a single arm, which demands incredible strength and stability; and front levers, where your body becomes completely horizontal while hanging from a bar, defying gravity in a way that makes people stop and stare; and back levers that challenge your body from the opposite angle, creating balance development; and dragon flags that obliterate your core with intensity that's hard to match with any other exercise; and handstands, where you're literally standing on your hands maintaining perfect balance while all your blood rushes to your head; and muscle-ups that combine pulling and pushing in one explosive fluid motion that looks absolutely spectacular when performed correctly. And these movements aren't something you'll master overnight, or even in a few weeks. They demand consistent, dedicated practice, intelligent programming, and often some expert guidance to help you refine your technique and avoid developing bad habits that could limit your progress or even lead to injury. So don't be afraid to seek out coaching. Watch tutorial videos, study the mechanics, and practice with patience and persistence. Because every attempt, even the failed ones, is teaching your nervous system and muscles how to coordinate in new ways. And then we arrive at that elite advanced territory, where only the most dedicated and persistent athletes venture, because this is where calisthenics transforms into something that genuinely looks like a superpower to anyone watching. And the movements at this level demand not just strength, but an almost supernatural degree of control, precision, balance, and body awareness that takes years of consistent training to develop. And we're talking about absolutely jaw-dropping feats like one-arm pull-ups, where you're lifting your entire body weight with a single arm in a pulling motion that requires grip strength and pulling power that most people will never develop. And one-arm handstands, where you're balancing your whole body on just one hand, which requires core strength, shoulder stability, and balance that seems almost impossible. And the full planche, where your body becomes parallel to the ground, supported only by your straight arms in a position that appears to violate the laws of physics and makes everyone who sees it question whether what they're witnessing is actually real or some kind of camera trick. And these aren't movements you can rush or force your way into. Attempting them before you're truly ready is a recipe for injury and frustration. So approach them with respect, patience, and a willingness to invest months or even years of progressive training, gradually building the strength, conditioning, and technique required to execute them safely and successfully. Because the journey toward these movements is just as valuable as achieving them. So here's what I want you to think about right now in this moment. Where exactly do you see yourself fitting into this progression system? Are you someone who's just beginning this amazing journey, still working on getting comfortable with those fundamental movements and building that initial foundation of strength and technique? Or have you moved beyond the basics and found yourself in that exciting intermediate zone where you're tackling more complex challenges and seeing your body do things you never imagined possible? Or perhaps you're already operating at that advanced level, pushing the boundaries of what seems humanly possible, and constantly working on refining and perfecting movements that most people only dream about achieving. And wherever you are right now, understand that your position doesn't define your worth or potential. It simply marks your current location on a path that has no real ending, because there's always something new to learn, another skill to master, another challenge to overcome, another way to push your limits and discover what your body is truly capable of achieving. So take a moment, drop down into the comments section, and share with our amazing community exactly where you're at in your journey. Because when we share our experiences, our struggles, and our victories, we inspire each other. We learn from each other, and we build something bigger than any individual achievement. We create a supportive environment where everyone feels encouraged to keep pushing, keep improving, and keep showing up day after day to become the strongest version of themselves. So go ahead, tell us your story, and keep training hard. Keep staying consistent, and keep believing in your ability to achieve extraordinary things.